I'm a firm believer that times of greatest uncertainty actually present the greatest opportunities. And part of that is being able to take strategic risks. So risk-taking and boldness are the essence of transformation. And throughout my career, particularly in the C-suite, being able to take those calculated risks to transform your business and to use these uncertain times to either pivot businesses, create new business opportunities, or change the landscape of where you want to go is how we all have to be thinking right now. On the flip side, we also have to understand that there's definitely a difference between risk and suicide. So how do you take those calculated risks and envision where you want the business to be, and then be strategic about how you're going to move ahead and take those risks, and then be able to create an environment where when you have to pivot, you also have to be able to do that. Diversity in the boardroom today and in the C-suite today is a business imperative. So let's just think of the consumer landscape. The buying power of women is significant. The population is significant. So why isn't that being reflected as you move up the ladder in corporate America? And that's not a nice to have. It's critical for business success. And I know personally, having been in business for 45 years and having been an advocate for other women throughout their careers, and seeing the difference when you have a diverse environment, it's very clear. And it really should not even be accepted in today's environment that when you're going into a company or you're looking at investing in a company, if it's not embracing diversity, you are basically investing something that's not going to be as successful as a business that is. I think it's really important that we sit back and think about the power of diversity and how it relates to innovation in business, and certainly to be able to populate the C-suite with diverse voices. The fact that in 2023, we still have such a small percentage of women in the C-suite is, in my opinion, unconscionable, because there's clear empirical evidence that diverse teams create greater business success and greater outcomes. And this has been a conversation for a very long time. I remember, when the book, The Medici Effect, came out around how diversity drives innovation. That was in 2001, and we're still having the same conversations when we know that the data proves that it's going to create greater business outcomes. I'm also a firm believer that you have to be able to surround yourself with diverse voices to be able to have what I call productive discomfort in the boardroom, being able to have honest conversations, being able to be aligned coming out of those conversations because you have different voices. And diversity is beyond gender, right? It's age, race, gender, all elements, including life stage. And what you want is different voices at the table who will allow you to come out with the best outcomes. In today's environment, I think it's really important for companies to use this as an opportunity to rethink where they want their business to be in 5, in 10 years, which when you're dealing with the day-to-day in a chaotic environment is sometimes hard to do, but you really have to be able to rethink your business for the future and then determine what risks and what changes need to be made to have that outcome ultimately. And it's very important when you're thinking of transformation, for example, you've got to be able to have a vision. You have to be able to align the organization around that vision. You have to have the support of your board. You have to be able to have investment dollars. And importantly, you have to have resilience, because not everything is going to go as planned. And you have to be able to pivot, and you have to be able to manage through that risk-taking. But ultimately, you have to stay focused on what is the vision and the outcome that you want, and where do you want your business to be. My belief is that there's a significant quality of leadership that is genderless. But then there are some very specific things where I think women bring something very unique to leadership. So qualities of leadership: the ability to set a vision, the ability to inspire others, integrity, authenticity, the ability to create trust, and deliver results. Those are qualities of leadership. However, I believe that there are things that we finally, and I think COVID and what we lived through had a lot to do with this. 10 years ago, if I said that some of the qualities of leadership that are critical are vulnerability, are empathy, are emotional listening skills, I would have been told, well, that's because you're a woman. And the reality is, those exact traits are what is required and what is valued in today's leadership across the portfolio of, gender, of age, of race, around everything. And I know for me, from the time I was in a leadership position, I always valued those. I always believed of bringing my whole self to work. I wasn't two Mindys, and I think a lot of women for many years thought they had to have their, personal self and their work self, and they had to show up in a certain way. And I always said, it's hard enough just to be one Mindy. I'm bringing my whole self. And if that meant bringing my daughter to work, I did it. Because I wanted to set an example for others that was a quality of leadership. To be able to be your whole self, to be able to get in front of an organization and have some vulnerability. I remember my first town hall when COVID had to shut everything down. And I did show emotion, and I think people appreciated that because we know how people felt. And I think as a leader, if you can do that, it's going to make people value who they work for, the company they work for, and the work that they're doing much more.